Do you know that's my favorite?
Well,
we do now.
That's why I offered you an empty.
Oh, that's just not
Why you offered her an empty? We are live, guys. We are live.
Well, I'm still offering her an empty.
You're still offering her empty. Hey, everybody. Sean Dotson here with The Flip Side. It is Wednesday, and this is the After Hours Party. Once again, your favorite non-PC, beer-drinking, thrill of the chase talking show. And I'm here with my co-hosts, David Kramer, DeCall Thomas, and K-Pro. So everybody say hi.
Hi.
And once again, as always, I'm down here at Three Rivers Brew Distillery, and I'm having another Royal Amber. So I just want to say cheers to all of you out in the audience, out in YouTube land. Cheers.
Cheers, indeed.
Diet Coke.
Christy, what are you drinking tonight? Dilly Dilly?
David didn't tell me to change it up. Man, what kind of guy are you?
Sorry, sometimes you just got to get the one that requires an opener.
Right. So everybody, just want to let everybody know, we're just going to recap just real quickly on Jay Diggins about the kind of the after party a little bit, about what we're going to have after the event. I think we know pretty much from A Gypsy's Kiss what's going to be going on in the event, but we want to talk a little bit about the after party that's going to happen. Where is it again, Christy?
It's at the Blue Corn, which is literally catty corner right across the street from the bookstore.
And we actually don't even know how long the fundraising giveaway and all that raffle is actually going to go, do we? We have no idea.
It will be done in an hour. It will be done. But we think we've tested it out with the drawing if the numbers keep going higher, but it takes about 7 to 8 seconds for each poll. I have it down to the minute, and it should take about 40 minutes, but we put about 20 minutes in if Forrest wants to say a word or two, I'm not going to stop him, but we've built in a little bit of time, but we are out of there by the 60-minute mark. I can tell you that.
Man, that's going to that would be quicker than our show.
That's going to look like a NASCAR pit stop.
Is that Mama that went by again to call? Who's in there now?
Oh, that's my son.
Oh, okay.
Son, you want to be on live YouTube?
Yeah, bring him in here. We'll say hi.
He's like, heck no.
So I know, Christy, you said you got some words tonight too from Forrest.
I did. Hi.
Hi.
Ooh, PS4 just went by.
No, that's his gaming laptop. I'm going to take that to Santa Fe.
Right. So, K-Pro, you said you got some words from Forrest tonight as well.
Yeah, I have 2 sets of words when we're ready for that. One is okay, and one is, I think, would probably cause not quite the punctuation storm, but a little bit more. And actually, I think it goes off a little bit of last night.
Punctuation storm? What are you talking about?
Like, Sharknado?
Sharknado. I got a couple of questions that I asked Forrest and got some responses from him too, as well. And we can talk about those. And then I think also it would be fun to talk a little bit about the words that Jason Dent and Sasha got as well. I think that was pretty interesting. And I know there was quite a few people in their chat room last night, but we'll bring it up and give a little bit of analysis on that too and our thoughts on it. But first of all, I just want to talk a little bit about the after party show that's going to go on over there at the Blue Corn, right? That's what it is?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay. But we've, DeCall, K-Pro and I have been kind of talking back and forth about trying to do kind of a live, event show there during the after party, not during the whole thing, maybe just like 30 minutes or so. And just to say hi to everybody. And those of you that are going to be at the event, you might want to come by and say hi, come on, the live show and just kind of say hi to your loved ones, give a shout out to some friends, whatever, tell us who you are, where you're from kind of deal. And that'll be it, just a really quick hi for everybody that wants to come by and say hi. So we're thinking about doing that. If this computer can make it through it, if not, maybe we'll use DeCall's computer. We know how this computer will kill. And next thing you know, I'll be off in La La Land somewhere. So do you guys have anything to add to that?
Well, you can say hello to your search partners if they are not in attendance.
Sure. Yeah. If some of you guys have search partners or your significant other that doesn't make it.
I'll be in the yard covering myself with fire ants in protest.
That's an excellent idea, David. Yeah.
And I told
you ever been bit by them things?
I don't even want to know.
So let's say hi to a few people in the chat room. We've got, looks like Maverick Searcher was the front running bastard. And I say that very lovingly. If you ever heard of a thing called hashing, hashing is a drinking club with a running problem. And I got into hashing way back in the 90s when I got into in Korea. And it's a fun thing we call when the first person that comes in, they call them the front running bastard. So if you're a man, you're the bastard. If you're a woman, you're a bitch. It's just fun loving. It looks like Maverick Searcher was the front running bastard today. Rob G, Ben Downing, how are you? Mary Green, Danny White, that's a new name. Hi, Danny. William Ortiz, Anon, David Dow, Ben Downing. Oh, I already said that. Journeyman, Chris Bettles. Chris, I don't know if you got my email. Hopefully you got it. Hit me back up. Jim White, Steve Gehagen. I could never say that right. Anna Graham. Hey, Anna Graham, how are you doing? Sean Martinez, Ramblin' Pam, how are you? Steve Smithman, that's a new name. There's Finn Treasure Hunters. Hey, how you doing, Jason? DAK, Larry Lamb, Poe2, Wave Seeker. Hey, Wave. Red X, I call him Redneck Express or Red X. Sasha, hey, Sasha. Minotaur Marino, hey, Minotaur. JT, there's totally not Mitzi. Hey, Mitzi, you got to hit me back up and let me know when you get set in place. We're gonna get her on the show, guys. We're just trying to get her set up. I think we got it. Fox Gaming, hey, how's it going? I think I got everybody now.
No, there's no way.
Sean Martinez says he's going to be there at the show, so there we go. Right on. So first off, I'd like to just jump in really quick and kind of hit up on, Jason Dent this week. Just yesterday got that, those words from Forrest. I think the words were, and Jason, please correct me if I get this wrong. I think the words were because he had asked, Forrest, hey, in my show, what do you want us to talk about? And Forrest Fenn had said, talk about the one good clue that searchers could think of themselves but haven't. So what do you guys kind of think of that?
Well, I looked up some passwords that said many are giving serious thought to the clues in my poem, but only a few are in tight focus with the word that is key. And I thought that was that was back in 2014, but I know the follow-up question from Jason was, is it something in the poem or is it in the poem? I don't remember exactly.
Yeah.
But I think he's saying we're all missing something again. So that was what came to mind so I do think it's in the poem.
Well, wasn't that your one response that you got from Forrest not too long ago, that you had asked him, hey, talking about illustrations is fun, but for solving the poem, I think we, not all, but some, are missing something that is key, and we need to get back in the box. And you said you asked Forrest that, and you said that he agreed. So yeah, there could be some correlation between what Fenn is telling Jason and what Fenn agreed to with you. Absolutely, there could be something there.
Yeah.
DeCall?
Well, I was. Can you read that statement again? It's kind of unique, the wording. You got it in front of you?
Yeah, I got it right here. This is the words that came from to Fenn to Jason. He said, talk about the one good clue that searchers could think of themselves but haven't.
Yeah, so when he says that searchers could think of themselves but haven't, think of themselves, I wonder if that has anything to do with the poem. It almost sounds like, my quickest response to that would be something like his name. Forrest with one R and Fenn with one N would be a swampy forest, or if it's, and then we're wondering where do we get this little idea from the poem, from the book, just from common sense, our own imagination. The only thing that comes to mind immediately is something like his name or something so simple. He's kind of making it sound like it's something extremely simple to figure out. And we're like, what the heck? What are we even talking about? Are we talking the book? Are we talking the poem? Are we talking what?
Well, I like it. I think I said it on Jason's show last night that he says, about one good clue that searchers could think of themselves. And that made me think, we already have the 9 clues in the poem. So is this an additional clue to that? Is that something that could be outside of the poem. You know, I mean, could it be a subtle hint? Could it be something that we all haven't really thought of? You know, besides the 9 clues, it's something he wants us to think of ourselves, not something that he's really posed to us as a clue. Something that it goes back to that. And David, I want to give you a chance here because I haven't given you a shot. But what are you thinking on this before I get into deeper?
Well, the first thing that I always think of is if we all knew what the blaze was, this thing would probably be over. But outside of that, I have to go back to what Brother Thomas always says. Brother Thomas always, goes back to the first stanza. You know, that to Brother Thomas bears the most weight, yet really is leading us nowhere. And so if there's something contained within the first stanza that we're looking past and we're not realizing is a clue when we're boots on the ground, that.
Yeah, but
that would be my guess.
How do we come up with it ourselves? I mean, I
think it's for themselves. Like we need to come up with this for ourselves. That's what I took. I know the wording is a little awkward. I agree with Deepak.
No,
but
nothing Forrest says is wording awkward. No.
Is it for ourselves or by ourselves or?
Yeah, that's
it was is what he said, but
yeah.
But so I wanted to throw out a set of words that I got from him, and I asked him if it was okay. Today, because I was thinking, what is this key? Is it in the poem? Is it not? So if you guys have been on AGK's It's All About You, there's a guy named Bill that did the first one. And he happened to see Flipside last week. And then I had mentioned, I'm willing to listen to anyone solve. And he joined Thor and he sent me, hey, I'm, a searcher. So anyway, long story short, he lives like 5 miles from me and we're going to meet up, him and his wife, we're going to meet up this weekend. And Bill had emailed Forrest and never gotten a response. And he said, what do you think the topic should be he said, I don't know if you know K-Pro, but if you do, what topics do you think we should discuss? And here was his exact quote back. And Bill has said it's okay. And Forrest has said it's okay that I share it. Quote, focus on the poem. So I was actually going to bring him a book and he doesn't have a book. We're going to probably go a different direction, but I think this is showing, if we go by last night's words and then today what he said, I think it may be, it's not 100%, but he may be pointing us to it's in the poem. Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. No, say it isn't so. The poem. No.
In the poem.
Say it isn't so.
Everybody's
I'm still a little skeptical because what's the point of saying that whole thing as if it's some special words to Fenn treasure hunters? I mean, come on. It's like, talk about the one good clue that searchers could think of themselves, but haven't. Okay.
So is it the one good clue in the poem then? Or, is that maybe what he's referring to if he's saying what she's saying? I mean, I just said it could be something outside the poem, but now we're hearing what he's telling this Bill guy.
Oh, Purist said that? Did a poem Purist say that?
Just saying.
Well, and did you guys see the Rodney? Did you see the Rodney video today?
I have not had a chance to watch it. I was shocked that I saw his video and I was like, well, is this an old one? And I said, no way, it just came out 18 hours ago. So I have not seen it yet. No,
he does discuss punctuation, just to throw that out there.
Oh no.
But the word that's what he focused most of it on. It's about 30 minutes. I thought it was good. It just kind of gets different thinking, but I liked it.
So I'm a little confused about this. So Bill Kaiser sent Forrest Fenn an email saying he's meeting with you.
Yeah.
Okay, and then he asked Forrest what you should talk about.
Yeah, he's like, "What do you think what do you think we should talk about? Do you know, if you happen to know K-Pro?" He was excited. He's never, I don't think, met another searcher. He did the AGK, but he's like, "Oh my gosh, I have somebody local. I'd love to meet up." And so him and his wife are meeting up. And so he said, "I've never gotten a response back from Forrest, but this is what he said." And so then I emailed Forrest and said, "Did you say that?" And he said, "Yeah." And I said, "Can I share it tonight? Because I think you're pointing us again to the poem if it's related to yesterday." And he said you could share it. So
is that going back to the one important thing is that we need to get back in the box? I mean, is that
my opinion right now? Yes, but I might be overcomplicated or make it get too simple. I don't know. But yes, I think he's pointing us to. I think there is a key part of the poem that none of us have unlocked, and it's a key part of, like, we all know WWWH, Palmer Brown, Blaze, all of those, but there's something, it seems, there that.
I mean, that makes it, well, obvious. I mean, isn't that obvious? I mean, there's something in the poem we're not getting. That's why we're not, we're barely, somebody's in 200 feet, but nobody has confirmation. Nobody has the treasure chest. We thought for sure at the beginning of this search season, we're going to have the treasure in hand by now. Everybody brags every year in the spring, I've got this in the bag. And then all of a sudden we get to late summer and we don't have diddly, and we're still talking about it. And we're saying, what do we have right in the poem? We don't know what we have right in the poem.
Right, but I don't think, I think, just my opinion, I think he's saying, stop analyzing every page of the book or the 4 words on page 22 or 109 or 72. Stop looking at all this other noise or the illustrations or any of the other noise. Get back to the poem. And I think that's might be where he's saying, stop for a second. Everybody's looking at too much noise. Get back into the poem.
Oh, why does that sound familiar?
Yeah, but it's ironic though. Sean is a poem purist, and I kind of consider myself a Forrest Fenn purist. That's why my warm water.
I think Shannon coined that phrase. We're gonna have to give that.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, she can have it. But I mean, my warm water halt is on the cover of Too Far to Walk. It doesn't get any purer or simpler than that. I mean, but
it does if it's in the poem. I think he's saying it's in the poem.
Yeah, but it has to be in perspective in something, in reference to something.
I think Mike Calazar said something here. He said, flip side, is it this, it is the same as the important possibility using logic, right? Yeah, I think it does kind of goes into line to what he's saying, where he said, back in 2015, I don't want to broaden the clues and hints I've written about by pointing them out. What surprises me a little is that nobody, to my uncertain knowledge, has analyzed one important possibility related to the winning solve. And he said that. Then he goes in and March 4th of 2016, over 2.5 years ago, he says, after reading Hod, H-O-D, which we all assumed was Dow Neitzel's site, I'm prompted to ask, have you considered the what ifs? And then everybody got into, crazy about what is he talking about, the what ifs? And then we had a question March 24th of that same year, just, 20 days later. And it was by somebody where he requoted him from 2015, saying what surprises me a little is that nobody, to my uncertain knowledge, has analyzed one important possibility related to the winning solve. And then somebody asked, is this statement from you still accurate? Thanks, somebody. And Forrest Fenn responded, yes, somebody. That is why I recently suggested that searchers consider the what ifs. So, I mean, what are the what ifs? I mean, everybody was perusing, Dow Neitzel's site, trying to figure out what he was talking about, the what ifs.
And what was that? Fenn actually responded to the what if, and then he said, what if they're going right past or going too far, going.
He said, an example of a hypothetical what if is, what if I was looking so far ahead that I failed to notice what was beside me? Mm-hmm. Does that, again, when he says beside me, it's almost like those people that figured out the first 2 clues, but went right on past, the other 7 clues, not knowing they had been so close, because what were they doing? They were looking so far ahead, they were just not paying attention. And again, we go back to this whole special place, we're over emphasis on what we think is Fenny or special to Fenn.
Well, going right past the other 7, that one bugs me a lot, but it kind of lends to the idea of Toby and others who think it's a very short distance between, say, Homa Brown and the end, or perhaps all 9 clues are much shorter distance. Mine is 43 miles from start to finish. But I think Too Far to Walk gives you kind of a distance idea, but at the same time, going right past the 7 clues, why would they even go past, why would they go 43 miles past, all the other 7 clues? It's kind of contradictory.
But maybe that's the message. He's saying it's not going to be my second solve was hundreds of miles from beginning to end. And now I am a believer with all of these words. it's all within a short distance, whatever that relative short, like parking lot, everybody knows my mile, but I think all of the clues are within a short distance now. But
Right.
I don't know for sure, but that's what I'm thinking. But I think this goes, and Sasha said it in the chat just a minute ago. I think I did everything in the kitchen sink. I'm now partnered with a poem purist. I'm surrounded by poem purists. I'm starting to believe exactly what Sean said. He's not a poem purist where he started there and he didn't look at everything. I'm starting to migrate because every time I say, well, what about this, that, the other? It's where is it in the 166? Where can we focus on it in the poem? And I think my opinion is that's what he's saying, is stop going to all these other things. And books he hasn't even said there's a hint to. And I appreciate what you're saying, D-Call, but I already had a hard enough time with TTOTC and going down 72 rabbit holes. I'm going to focus on 166. And I have a new potential solve, a new general location, and that's all I'm going to look at.
Hey, William Ortiz, I see you made a question there. You said, but what about the comment after the lure? I'm not sure exactly which comment you're referring to. There was quite a few.
I thought that he meant the one after the poem, really.
I thought he meant the one of I have nothing more to say, and he's obviously reconsidered that.
He's reconsidered. I thought he meant after the poem when he said that, there were hints sprinkled within the book.
Right.
One thing I want to go back to K-Pro and the whole poem purist thing, and everybody wants to lump poem purists into one little basket and think that they all think the same. And that's why, I posted on Thor, everybody serves a different master. You've got people like Brother Thomas here that could really be a poem purist and still bring his imagination to that poem and only to the poem and end up where he is. And I've got to give him that. I was thinking a lot about that today while I was driving, thinking a lot about, we always give him garbage about the 800-foot salamander and the floating hat. But you know what? Maybe that's where I need to get a little bit more of a spark, is a little bit more imagination to it, and not so dry. I'm not so much a poem purist that I'm stuck with just, page 132 or the 166 words. Basically, I'm all about what that poem tells me and what Fenn has said related to that poem. That's it.
Yeah, but I've had this debate with Sean. So my search partner now has not read has not read any of the memoirs. Occasionally will read whatever words come up, but kind of discounts them, has never read a scrapbook. That is where I think I think you're exactly right, David. The pure poem purists, literally just looking at 166. And then you have people that consider things in the past, their mind is going to be biased, whether they like it or not, even though we feel we can compartmentalize. And I feel like I've learned a lot. But when I see something, I'm like, oh, I know that that's related to this or that. If you don't even have that in your mind, that makes you, I think, a poem purist. And I've tried to change him. I'm like, at least just consider the book so you know what I'm talking about. And he sent it to him and he sent it back.
Does he like the videos? Does he like the videos that Fenn has, like the bookstore or the major videos?
He doesn't watch them. No.
But that's straight out of Fenn's.
Or not. He just won't. He won't.
That's straight out of Fenn's mouth. I mean, it's not like you're listening.
Fenn, he knows. Well, I asked him, would you want to meet Fenn? And he said no, because if I tell him I saw, I wouldn't know whether he's like aberrations is like we all do.
Toying with you, etc. Yeah.
He doesn't want involved. He wants 166, and he only has fun on the forums. He doesn't like take any words like I'll throw out, but you read those words yet? And he's like, yeah, but that's not in the poem. So that's to David's point. I think that's the most pure. And then there are people that have used everything, and I'm kind of that in.
Christy, I got to ask you. So didn't Fenn clarify that there were some? It wasn't everybody that hadn't considered this special idea or this key idea, but some had, or like he corrected you or something. He said that not all or some of them have considered the idea that's key. Like some people do have it right. Didn't he say that?
He didn't. Yeah, he didn't say nobody. He said it was either like most or almost all. He would not say nobody.
Yeah,
and I think that goes to the 200-footer in my opinion.
Because you kind of wrote the original question asking like everybody hasn't got that idea that is key. So evidently some people a very few people have this correct idea.
No, but that's what we all think. We're the one out of 350,000. No, in my opinion, no, we're not. I am not that person. I need
I mean, but it is kind of cool that maybe that idea that is key has already been talked about or on the forums, or it has been mentioned. I mean, it's got to be a pretty decent concept if it's talked about and somebody has it right.
See, and I think the opposite. I think Forrest Fenn himself could go up under a different handle, put out the exact right solve, and no one would care.
We would tear it apart.
Wouldn't we? Oh, you'd need Charmin toilet paper. But listen, going back to the 200 footer, I've never really looked at myself as being the person or Sean as being the person that's 200 feet from it. The way that I've always looked at that was, okay, if you're a person that's within 200 feet of something, okay, we can use the floating hat. If I'm 200 feet away from the floating hat, all right, and I wrote to Forrest Fenn and I said, "Dear Forrest, had a wonderful vacation. I saw this giant floating hat, and I was approximately 200 feet away from it." Now Forrest knows that where are you at? You're in Montana, right?
Yeah.
Or whatever. So I described to Forrest where I am, and I tell him about this wonderful floating hat. Now Forrest says, "Wow, that dude was about 200 feet away from the floating hat. So he was 200 feet away from the treasure." Okay,
we know it was a photo. It was definitely a photo sent to him.
Well, folks, if you see a floating hat out in your search area, go to it.
Yeah, why not? Sorry to cut you off, David. He did clarify that on
But I'm just saying, rather than looking at yourself and your solve is you being within 200 feet of whatever, look at it in general. If somebody's 200 feet away from something, okay, look at your area and say, what in my area would I describe to Forrest Fenn? What in my area would I describe to Forrest Fenn that he would recognize that I could be 200 feet away from it? Yeah. And why would I be 200 feet away from it? Was I on a trail? Was I on a path? Why was I there?
Well, didn't he say in that cutting room floor video?
Lucky Love.
I don't know how Lucky Love got that. Lucky Love, I don't know where you got that or how you got it, but great job.
That was good.
But he said in there that the person had sent him a picture or something that he had recognized the spot, and he knew where they were.
But he's also put out the words that he gets these long emails and he looks for keywords. That was up on Terry's scan. I was looking at it today. He looks for keywords and then he goes from there. So I think I don't think necessarily it's only the photo one. I actually don't recall the one that you're talking about. I need to go look at that one. But
he said many times, searchers rarely tell me exactly where they're searching.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they're getting closer. My gut feeling is someone will find it this summer.
But here's the problem. How many people have said they think his general comment is them? A lot more that say,
everybody.
I know it's not me. I can tell you it's not me.
We all want it to be us.
Yeah, but I think the majority of us need to think it's not us. So let's start to really pick apart our solves and think differently. But everyone thinks it's me. I just need to get back out there. I need to.
Yeah. But David's making a good point, and he's saying, what are the things that these people would take a picture of, or describe to him in an email that he would know that they're 200 feet away from the treasure. What is it if you're going to be out there with your loved one or something like that you're going to be taking a picture of?
But X just Forrest has said the person didn't know they were there. So if they didn't know they were there, how are they taking a picture of anything?
Well, wasn't it Stephanie asked a question back in June of 2014? Forrest, has anyone ever seen or mentioned the blaze to you?
Yeah.
And he didn't want to answer that question,
that makes it so obvious that he had heard and seen blaze mentioned by somebody. That's the only logical conclusion from that email. And I'm thrilled that he answered it that way, because that tells me that the blaze has been mentioned. So we got a 200-foot person. We've got a blaze that's mentioned. We've got a photo.
We got a 200-foot person and an 800-foot salamander.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, who else is going to keep that salamander under control? Yeah.
Hey, do we want another set of words by four? Do you have more, Sean?
Oh, wait. Let me hang on. Sorry. Thank you. Me.
I got one before you, Christy.
Can you imagine when Forrest opened that attachment and saw that picture?
Oh, wow, yeah.
Can you even imagine?
I'm going to go through all my pictures. Yeah. See which.
Yeah.
Have you sent
back and
Forrest,
look at your
have you
pictures.
sent Forrest any pictures?
Oh, I've sent him piles of pictures, maybe
Well,
a
you're
dozen,
screwed.
maybe a dozen of my search area. So
That
now
constitutes
I've got
a pile. All right.
12 200-foot circles to check out.
200.
If he's getting 100 emails a day, and I believe it,
Oh, sure.
I think there's thousands of people, and they all believe they're the one. I mean, we all do, but I think we need to start thinking we're not the one. Let's, think differently. But
sure.
This from Super Chick.
Come on, I was having fun.
I hope you buy a more flattering Superwoman outfit.
I wore a firearm shirt today,
Nice.
What was that, Tico?
I want to see a more flattering Superwoman.
I wore a samurai shirt today.
It's a shirt costume. Oh, this is why I won't even go there.
I'm going to have a talk with you about dressing for success.
Well, here's I just got a question popped up from Wave Seeker.
Okay,
Wave Seeker asks, why do you think Forrest Fenn is releasing so many words lately? I personally believe that he's enjoying himself. I think he's having a lot of fun. I think that this new kind of upcoming phenomena with a lot more of the Fenn tubers coming out and being a part of this, that he's getting a little bit more involved in this and having fun. So I think again, like I said, he likes to be an active participant. He doesn't like to sit on the sidelines. He wants to be right in the middle, in the thick of it. So I think he's just he's having a lot of fun. The whole punctuation thing. Again, I think he's having a lot of fun and having fun, or making fun of some searchers, however you want to look at it. So I think he's just enjoying this, and he's watching these shows, and he's getting to see his words brought up, and then people automatically talking about them. It's this media is a little bit different than the forums and everything else, where it's just typed in stuff, and you don't get the inflection, you don't get the real meaning and facial expressions of a person that's talking about it. But in this medium, it's quite different than just the written word. So I think he's having a lot of fun.
I have a little bit different of opinion. So when I asked him I started Thor for some specific reasons where I wanted things to be a little more positive, because I felt like the community might have been breaking apart a little.
Sure.
And maybe it isn't, because some people have said this happens every year. I asked him, I said, look, the reason that I believe some people get really negative is you go quiet and we get frustrated. And even if the word is, it's the word, like Illinois Ghost, some people totally discount it. Some people have one heck of a time with it. And I said to him, and I don't know if this is a part of it or not, but I said to him, if you put some things out, we're going to be talking about those things no matter what. And so I would rather talk about that than why is Fenn silent, and here's all the negative things that we can talk about, and we're frustrated and we're quitting, and talk about Forrest's personal life and all of that. This was an opportunity. And I asked him what Fenn clarifies, would you consider this? Because I think if we really get some good information or some good data, we can debate it. And that's what, like last night, the words that came from to the Fenn treasure hunters, it's like fantastic. If everybody got different words, I love it. Let's all come together and start debating words and the poem and the treasure chest, and not all of the stuff that I think.
Totally right, yeah. Christy. Every time it goes silent from Fenn, we get this garbage, this just straight out bickering and war. It's awful. It feels awful. It's dreadful. And then Fenn just keeps it alive. And maybe I hope that's not a burden on him, but it's his game.
I think he has a blast with it.
I think he is too.
There's a few of us that I've been putting out updates, and I've included Forrest. And I remember when Sean roused him about Worcestershire sauce, and he was like, you guys are picking on me. And I thought, yes, we are. We love you. This is fun. And we all did it, and it's been great. So, I mean, I think it's a time that I feel, and I'm not speaking for him because he's never said this, I feel like this is treasure hunting 2.0 for him, or the chase 2.0. This is like kind of that resurgence, and we're seeing
rebirth,
hunters and different people coming out and all of that. And I think he's having fun, and I think he deserves to have some fun. I mean, your granddaughter gets potentially tried to get kidnapped because that was the treasure, and they were going to return him or her. I mean, those are some scary things, and he's had more of that happen. I think he's excited about us. I know he watches different channels.
Sure.
I know he looks at different threads. I think he's loving it. This is fun.
Think about all the new names. Sorry, Sean. Think about all the new names that we see coming into these chats.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you go to AGK, you go here, you know, there's a new breed coming in, because what has happened is a lot of the people that started with this, you know, have burned out. They've spent their money. They've done their best solve. They've just like, you know, like, I got to get back to my life. I hear DeCall like begging. It's like, you know, no death for Barabbas. It's like DeCall's like begging. He's like, please just put me out of my misery.
Yeah, it's true.
Tell me I'm wrong.
Please tell me I'm wrong.
You know, yeah. And it's like, so, you know, you've got people like that and people that have dropped, but you've got all these new people coming in. And Minotaur Marino, I don't mean to pick on your brother. I absolutely loved reading your thing over there on Thor, because it is so enthusiastic. And even when you get to your spot and you're looking around, and like I told Sean, I got to mine, and there were 100 or more cubby holes. And I knew there would be all these cubby holes, but it was like, oh my God. And so I'm going through these cubby holes, flashlight, you know, and Minotaur Marino, he's so enthusiastic. And then he walks away from his spot and he's like, yeah, but you know, what do you do? What do you do? And a guy like Minotaur Marino isn't going to burn out next month or the month after that. Okay. That guy is in it for the long haul.
Now, here's where I disagree a little bit, David, and I don't mean to break in, but if he comes to a forum or a site or a channel that is being, this guy is, this is a hoax and it's not out there.
Well, that was where I was going next, but thanks a lot, Mom. You know, it's I'm going to tell you what that S stands for on your chest. Never mind. But and it ain't. And I thought at first you were wearing it for the South. It was like, ooh, go Cynthia. I was like, no. But anyway, and exactly that. A guy like Minotaur Marino is not going to get out. But if these long-term people, Rob G is just fresh back from his thing. He's in the room here somewhere. You know, if these guys come back and they start talking shit, S is for shit. If they start talking shit, then all these new people coming into it aren't going to want anything to do with it. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And so you have to bring that positivity back into it. Sean and I have been talking about that for weeks. We've been talking about bringing the positive, you know, back into it and stopping the infighting and not paying attention to those people. I can't take the infighting. I was reading a thread over at Thor, and Sean was going around with somebody, and I was just like, wow, it's making my chest hurt. I can't do this crap. You know, it's not that important. You know, so what did I do?
Now here's a little bit different of a thing. I think sometimes it gets but over on Thor, at least it's a debate about something chase related, and punctuation or not punctuation. Great example. I think it got a little crazy a little bit, but isn't that so much better? Sean. But isn't that so much better than, is this a hoax? Is Forrest Fenn XYZ? Yeah. It's such a better place to be in. So when people come back and they've been a part of a good community, that works. Now I can tell you about my last boots on the ground. I went for 5 days. And after day 4, my search partner said, you have not been out to the spot. Why not? Well, I met Toby and I met Cynthia and I met Shelly and then I met so many people, and I got to meet Ben and he's like, get your butt out to the spot. So I was a little bit different I wanted to make those social bonds, because anytime, like, Cynthia's my friend. I talk to her every day now, and that's what I need, is someone that I can bounce this stuff off of. I did get out to my spot. It didn't happen, but here is where the social community is so important. These are friendships that, I mean, I've known Decal for 3 years or 2-3 years now, and he's the one that we bounce ideas, and we're both insane. I listened to the Salamander, and I was excited the first time I heard it.
I love the Salamander, man.
I was like, what the hell are you talking about?
Now we're talking, yeah.
Sean, why in the hell do we have a Salamander? You know what Sean and I have? DeCall's got a Salamander. We got fucking punctuation.
You got punctuation. That's what I'm saying.
Every week it's going to be punctuation.
That's imaginative.
Yeah, we're gonna ride that semicolon all the way to the home of Brown, folks.
Decal does not drink, and you guys do. I'm just saying, imagination.
Imagination. And what do you got, Christy? You got nothing. You're finished.
Oh no!
You're in between solves.
You got nothing.
I will tell you my update, and it doesn't include a salamander. I will tell you, but we have the beginning of a killer solve. It's going to take some time. I will not get back out this year, but we went through a process to figure out exactly general location. We did it independently, and we came back together in Colorado, of all places, and we now have a new general area.
What the hell's wrong with you?
Yeah, well, bring it.
She
and on the
said
day, I'm not going to tell anybody else they're wrong. But when 2 independent people go out and then come back, and he had it for totally different reasons, we got this next year.
So I want to get a question before we get
Colorado
into this. But Minotaur Marino had a question. It's more of a statement, really. I think he said he isn't releasing more stuff. If you look a few years back, August was a bigger month, and I don't know what August you're talking about, but I think it was, what was it, 2017 when he had that rush of scrapbooks, that he was putting out. And that was a busy week. Everybody was freaking out. I mean, he went from like scrapbook 172 to 180 or something in a matter of like 2 weeks. What are you doing over there, DeCall? Typing away?
Yeah, sorry.
But I think, let's get back to what we were talking about. I mean, that was really, we didn't have Jason Dent. We didn't have Sasha. We didn't have the flip side. We didn't have, all the other fin tubers that are coming out there. I mean, there's been this whole new community that is arising, that is still part of the forums, because they're all four of us here still communicate on the forums. I still I'm on Dal Neitzel's side. I'm on Harry's, and I'm over on Thor. DeCall I know is on Chase Chat and over on Thor, and he comes over to Harry's once in a while. David Kramer, he's floating around somewhere there in Thor. I don't know where he's at.
He's on Thor.
That's it. That's the only place I am. That's it.
We're still communicating. We're kind of straddling the fence, so to speak. But that now we've got this whole new media that Forrest Fenn is really being introduced to. That he's having a lot of fun with, and he's still communicating with Al and MW and everything.
Like the new, podcasting is dead. Forums aren't dead because
they're not.
But some live chat is fine in video, but it doesn't seem to work without the video very well.
No, but I think
criticizing to you. It's just we're all learning things here. This is so much better in live.
Yeah, well, it would have been dead if it wasn't for this.
Forums go toxic because they have no nonverbal communication. Sean brought it up perfectly.
Yeah.
You are less likely to flame someone once you've seen them, once you're humanizing them. I mean, I see people and go, oh my God. I had people right after I did the flip side the first time and said, I had such a different impression of you because of some thread like a year and a half ago.
Sure.
Yeah.
And they said, this is so great. And we got this huge insurgence on Thor of people that just said, I had it wrong, or I don't agree with you and I want to come and debate with you now because you're wrong. And it's like fabulous, but none of that can be communicated. And I think that's the hard part.
We have a Toby alert. We have a Toby alert. Toby is in the building, folks.
Roger, got that.
Everybody in the chat room, stop talking about Toby.
Come in, Toby.
Toby. Where's Shelly? Roger.
He-Call is on the floor. What happened?
He was posting an alert. Grandpa Toby is in the house.
Grandpa Toby.
No, he's like the grandfather of the Fin Tube universe.
I used to talk so much shit about K-Pro before I met her, and then I was like, oh, I can't talk.
Okay,
look at when we brought down.
I can't.
When we brought Dale Neitzel on here, how many people got this whole new impression of Dale Neitzel when we got him on here? They're like, wow,
Dale.
He's the funny guy,
Dale Neitzel.
Even Forrest got a new impression of Dale. He's like, he drinks too much.
Since Toby's in the room, this is a great example. On Sunday night, I had a personal crisis that no one needs to know about, but Toby called about the Jamie situation. And I just want to say thank you, Toby. He got such an earful and I was such a mess. And I want to say thank you. Talk about a search friend becoming a friend. I apologized the next day. I told him I was such a mess and I'm sorry because he called about Jamie and then I went into what was happening with me. But he's like a friend. This is exactly what I mean is he was like a friend, but I know he got so much more than he wanted. And I'm sorry, but he was so gracious and so nice. And for the people that say some of the stuff that they say about Toby, he's the kind of person. He's wonderful.
I know when I break a nail, I wish Toby was there for me.
Everybody, please go donate $25 more so we can get up to $60,000 to get Toby in a Wonder Woman.
Oh, that would be I know a couple of big donors.
What the hell you mean? He's already wearing it. He's just going to wear it in public.
Oh,
no, you ever seen those
Toby? He said that, not me.
No, I was sure that was him and the people of Walmart. Go look at the one of
Toby,
August.
don't sock me on September 6th for David.
Toby's like it was a 5-hour and 1-minute phone call. I think it ended at like 3. And I'm so
5 hours.
Tell us about that, Christy. Tell us about that conversation.
No, do you know how short that conversation would have been back when you had long distance charges?
Yeah. 10, 5 hours and 1 minute. Hang up.
Yeah, broken nail, gotta go.
I'm sorry, but he is such a man. Thank you for.
Toby's a good guy.
Oh my God.
Toby's one of the good guys.
Oh my goodness.
Toby's
Yeah,
definitely one of the good guys.
I do think it's awesome. I mean, I wish more people out there would get on the video with us, invite themselves to this show or something, and or
we've got a couple of people lined up. We've got a couple.
You know what I'm saying? There's some longtime searchers, maybe Astri, maybe Crazy Family, maybe there's plenty of Halo Getter.
Reach out to them, guys.
There's some people that's been out there for a very long time. I'd love to hear
we'd love to see you. We'd love to hear your story, get to know you.
Yep, if you're not
absolutely.
Too chicken. Chicken.
And no, it is kind of, I mean, I've been in it a while and I've been asked to go on the YouTubes for probably the last 6 months. It is a little, especially the women, it's a little different.
K-Pro, you were very concerned about your anonymity, and I hate that word. But there's a lot of people, guys, if you want to come on here and you just want to be as your screen name, I've got no problem with that. I mean, that's fine.
Yeah, but people, I didn't know. Here's something that I didn't know, and I won't say who because I think they have the picture. So when you go to Comic-Con and they take a picture of you, they actually go and put it up on sites that you can see everybody who dressed up. So there is a picture out there of me in that Wonder Woman.
What year? What year was that? What year was that?
No,
I'm going to find it, folks. We're going to find it.
And he's in the chat room. You better.
Some of you top researchers out there, find that picture. Let's get it.
That's right. We'll donate another $25 to the Jay Diggins. Oh yeah, see, we'll flip this shit.
Oh,
right.
How did we get here? Do we want Fenn words? Well,
I got one first. I asked him a question the other day. The response, I'll admit to you guys, is not great. You're going to be a little disappointed in the response, but the response was actually kind of interesting, and I'll let you.
I'm afraid.
Get on the response. No, don't be afraid, David. And the question was, in June 2014, you had mentioned in Scrapbook 78 that it was not likely that anyone would get as close as 12 feet from the treasure and not find it.
Yeah.
And then I asked him, based on that, I said, now, 4 years later, do you still believe this to be the case? Forrest Fenn responded, better not answer that question, Sean. Sorry.
Wow.
So it was kind of like a bummer answer. I was like, well, why not? I mean, he was telling us in that whole Scrapbook 78 is like, I've never told anybody that, they were 12 feet from the treasure or whatever, but it's highly unlikely anyone would get that close and not find it. So, a big part of my search process is I'm out there and I think I'm in the right spot and I'm looking around and I'm thinking to myself, okay, all I need to do is get within 12 feet of this thing to have a chance of finding it, and whether that be,
he would have to, Sean, he would have to explain why they haven't seen it if it's within 200 feet. Okay. Nobody can even comprehend they were within 200 feet and didn't find the thing. They really are not going to comprehend.
Holes, once you get out, especially your area, you could be 200 feet away and
I know
be on a different planet.
And 12 feet too, though.
Yeah, let's not talk about 200 feet away, 12 feet. And like I've always said, I've never believed that. I've never believed when I was in my spot in Yellowstone. I've never believed that you could be that close. Like I said last week before, you're going to have to look right where that sucker is.
And Anon, I want to answer you really quick. That was about a week ago that he answered that to me. That he answered that question to me when I asked him. But to me, when I've been out there searching, I've always had that belief that all I've got to do is get within 12 feet of this thing to have a chance. I'm not saying, because he said it's not likely that anyone would get that close. So to me, it's like, okay, it doesn't mean I'm guaranteed I'm going to find it because he said no one's going to stumble upon this thing. And that means anyone was going to stumble upon it. So I thought that as a searcher, being out there and having what I believe is a good understanding of the poem, that all I need to do is get in 12 feet of this thing to have a chance, and whether that be under a cairn of rocks or in a little cubby hole or next to a tree or whatever it was, that all I need to do is potentially get within 12 feet of that thing to have a chance of finding it. And then now he's saying, better not answer that question. It's like, oh, is there a reason why you don't want to answer?
How many of us have gone into it? Like I took my walking stick and put it in every little hidey hole. That 12 foot says don't do that. but I did that for hours. I think we all probably have. It's
yeah,
just
but you got to have peace of mind when you're out there. You got to check these little nugget holes, and I think maybe
Ben
there's
Downing,
something-
I agree. Ben Downing, I agree. Sorry, I just wanted to hit him up on that one.
Maybe the 12 means something. Maybe the 200 means something. I think with the 24 lines of the poem, 12 could be 12 hours, you know.
Or does he, if he said he hasn't been back out there to the spot, like he responds in that, emails or whatever from a middle school class, that he hasn't been back to that spot, he doesn't know. If he said, like in the lure video, in the response to whether it's buried or not, he says, well, what if some weeds blew in there? Is it buried? Is it sepultured? Let's not define these terms. So does he not know? Was he anticipating? Did he hide it in such a way that he anticipated Mother Nature over time could potentially hide this thing a heck of a lot more than he hid it?
That's just common sense,
Yeah, we don't know.
Those rocks that move all the way across a dry lake,
in Vegas, yep.
I feel bad. I feel bad for Minotaur Marino. This dude completely embodies every single searcher and their thoughts when they're boots on the ground. This dude, everything that he writes in here, every stick points to whatever. That's the way it is, brother. When you've invested your time and your treasure into this, that's the way it is. And that's why before you go out there, you're so sure, man, I'm going to go out there and this thing is going to be right here and I'm going to pick it up and I'm going to bring it home and life's going to be great. And I'm going to buy a panda bear or whatever you're going to buy.
Panda bear.
Oh, no.
No, but then what do? You go home and you say, I missed it by this much. I know
I didn't go 10 feet farther, I didn't.
Somebody criticized me last week for talking about the 12 grand. And the only reason I mentioned that it cost me 12 grand and K-Pro mentions, that it costs her 4,000 or 5,000 every time she goes out and search. Look, that money spent, we well spent it. It wasn't, that money was put away for that. We're just trying to let as new searchers, what that dollar amount is, what that ring is. Brother Thomas sat there one day and said, look, spend all your money, spend your house payment, ruin your marriage, go look for this chest. If that's what you really want to do. But the fact of the matter is that, man, you've got to be a good steward of your household first.
Yes.
You're right, David. People are saying, even on this chat and every time we meet, they're saying, oh, I've got this in the bag. I'm the guy. And what are you, delusional? It's like,
no, it's what
we don't know if they are. They could be right. And we're taking them off the fence.
Here's my opinion of where they get delusional. If you've been in it 5 years and then you figured out you just lost your house, you just lost your mortgage, and whose fault is it? It's Forrest Fenn's for moving it, or it's a hoax, or it's a this.
Oh, isn't that some shit? Yeah, Forrest went out and moved the chest again. Yeah. Really? Are you kidding me? That thing's been sitting there for 8 years, guys.
Or he removed the punctuation out of the poem again.
Oh, no, my God. We'll never
quit moving the punctuation.
Earthquake. Oh, my gosh.
But Anon had said maybe he can't answer that because someone has been that close and didn't find it. That's a good point. I mean, he's never alluded to anybody being closer. Maybe he doesn't want to because he doesn't want to tip a searcher off.
But if somebody's been that close and didn't find it, guess what that means? It means if you're 10 or 12 feet away.
Yeah, exactly. You can't.
I think Forrest is off. I think Forrest thinks if he gives a hint, like I've asked him 100 times, rule out
exactly, Minotaur. Exactly, Minotaur. Exactly what you're saying about the bourbon and tea treasure. You're absolutely right. Sorry.
Yeah, well, and in the same way, I think he thinks he's going to give away the farm. Like if he gives out a search state, if he rules out a search state, he thinks it's going to be found. How? No, like it won't.
Yeah.
It'll have a bunch of like what happened when it was Utah. I just think that he thinks he's going to give it away, but I don't think some of these clues when he doesn't answer them, I think he thinks it's too much of a hint, but I don't think that.
Well, I don't blame Fenn. I don't blame Fenn. You can't give it away. You can't take the romance and the suspense. You can't take the romance and suspense out of it. It ruins the whole game. He doesn't want this to be a what do you call that? A sprint to the finish line after everybody has the answer. So
should he be quiet, D-Call? Should he not be saying anything right now?
I think he's muddying the waters even more.
Yeah,
I love hearing from him. I do too. I do. A lot of his stuff doesn't change. I mean, there's a lot of his words and things he's saying doesn't change David and I's way we look at this at the poem.
Do you
never
guys,
changed
for
that.
all
It
of you, do
doesn't.
you think he should have ruled out the 2 previous states?
But definitely Idaho and Utah saved a lot of lives.
Why are we so focused on states? Take all the boundaries out. Take all the state lines out of it. Take all
Rocky
that out of it.
Mountains.
It's just the Rocky Mountains, guys. And in the poem, you know, why a lot of people think that, you know, certain keywords or phrases in that poem lead you to a certain state. A lot of people think the first stanza tells you, you know, the geographical location or the state that it's supposed to tell you in. And who's to say those people are wrong? I'm not saying that because the word treasures doesn't refer to Montana. I'm not saying that the words riches new and old doesn't refer to New Mexico. I'm not saying that because he says, so why must I go, doesn't refer to you know, Wyoming.
Yeah.
But I think we're so wrapped around trying to figure out what state it's in. Get that out of your mind. Just focus on the poem and allow the poem to lead you to the correct starting point. And I think we just get overly focused on trying to happen to narrow it down or remove a state or whatever. We have the entire Rocky Mountains to figure out. And within that Rocky Mountains, the poem is telling us where to go.
Yeah, but Sean, our never-ending argument is we don't have any confirmation about anything.
No.
And so I don't want any states ruled out. We've had enough states. I just want to know how do we play this game better than we are already.
Well, then that leads me to my very next question. You said it, and he said this, Capro. I know I'm cutting you off because I know you got other words, but I had asked Forrest Fenn another question, and let me see if I can find it. This was the question I asked, and this kind of revolves around what Finn Master was trying to talk about over on your site, Capro. And I asked him this question, and again, I don't like the answer, but again, maybe that's just because I was expecting something different from him. I asked him, can a searcher obtain 100% certainty that they have the correct starting point prior to the physical recovery of your treasure chest? And this is his response. He said, the starting point is only the starting point. A searcher must follow the clues to find the treasure. I mean, it doesn't,
Amen.
you know,
No,
it's like,
I think that's a little shout out to the Tipsy Gypsies, in my opinion.
could be. Yeah, could be.
But they don't drink alcohol. It's wine.
Yes.
Add that to the show notes or whatever.
I will.
Yeah.
But okay, now it reminds me, and I've talked about this before. I've talked about the word follow. And he says just prior to the poem in the book, and this is just prior to the poem, he said, so I wrote a poem containing 9 clues that if followed precisely will lead to the end of my treasure and at the end of my rainbow and the treasure. Sorry, folks. So I look at that word followed, and most of us think it's in that step by step, you know, one foot in front of the other, contiguous, blah, 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 blah. What if followed means something completely different? What if followed doesn't mean followed in the literal sense, but means followed in the sense of understanding? That if you understand the clues precisely, they will lead you to the end of his rainbow and the treasure. And again, a searcher must follow the clues to find the treasure. If we take out the word followed and replace it with understand, a searcher must understand the clues to find the treasure. Then we don't have this literal, okay, I've got to start at Warm Waters Halt. I've got to take the canyon down. I've got to, you know, not go far, but too far to walk. And then I've got to put in below the Homer Brown. We're following all these things step by step, you know, rather than trying to look at it as in understanding what the clues are trying to tell us, not necessarily follow them in the step-by-step process, you know. And that
this poem, I think he wants to step it through, but it's interesting.
Yeah, I know it's you could be right. I'm just saying it's the flip side of that word. You know, it's, you know, he's a word master. We know that. We know.
Yeah, but he says
the definitions of our words.
He says the clues are contiguous and continuous, kind of obviously connected
but in the
together.
poem, he said that if you look at my poem there, and he says this in one of those interviews on the Santa Fe Report or whatever it was, he said, if you look at my poem there, the clues are contiguous, and he does this step by step thing.
Yeah.
That doesn't necessarily mean that that's how we follow them. Again, you know, no one's given me the clues in the correct order.
Yeah.
I think he's saying simplify, because I think so many people are, I mean, I remember when I first got on, people were putting lemon juice and they were putting heat on the different illustrations.
Or just completely burning their book.
Yeah, that was crazy. That dude.
Those people weren't burning their book to get a clue.
Those people are nuts. Those people are nuts.
Totally nuts. That guy.
Totally crazy.
And yet Mitzi has never burnt a book.
I got to tell you, when you burnt the book,
she's burned a few other things down.
When you burnt the book, dude, I put you in this category of.
I'm still there.
I put you in the category of these nutcases. Like, don't answer the phone if this guy calls at all.
But yet you keep answering it.
See, I completely understood when he burnt the book. I was like, fuck. Sometimes you got to burn a book.
Maybe that's why you guys are partners. Now I understand. Now I get it. I mean,
I think you need to consider burning your book more. Like, I need to be frustrated at my solve. You're too laid back. You've got to.
No, I think Sean has clarified my thoughts today. Like, I'm kind of up against a rock and a hard place. I can't get any confirmation.
Good night, Toby. Toby's leaving the building.
Grandpa
Toby.
Good night, Toby.
Security door, stage 3. Let's go.
My best friend.
Hang out on your my pillow, Toby.
Hey, can I call you tomorrow, Toby? I mean, I've got some problems I got to work out and maybe talk about some really personal things.
We're gonna go 5 hours and 2 minutes
and some secrets. Toby, I mean, you're good with secrets, right?
Too much, D-Call. I'm never telling you anything.
Good night, Toby. Sorry to cut you off the call. We all had to say good night to Tobers.
Dude, all I'm saying is I have this solve, and I have absolutely no confirmation, and it would be great if I, had nothing to risk or lose, if I was a single guy and could just throw money to the wind. But I don't. I've got a business, I've got a family, I've got a wife, and some regular goals and things to accomplish in life. So I can't. I mean, I need some sort of confirmation, some sort of state elimination. Please eliminate Montana for me, please, or Wyoming.
You just said not to rule out a state. T-Call.
I'm just saying. I need
you
something.
You just said not to, and Forrest listens.
I need something to put me out of my misery, or something to confirm, and I'm not going to get it either. So I'm stuck.
You need a shot of whiskey that will put you out of your misery.
I know you won't do it. I'm just giving you hell.
I'm just wondering if that changed.
You said something that I think is really important. You said that you have a family and you have a mortgage and you have that. We all have that. Even the person that is single and doesn't have a lot of responsibilities. There are people that even with the minimum or the maximum have decided not to do what you do, where you are dying to go. I've been dying to go. When I get that breakthrough, I think I got some miles. I can use my hotel points. It'll be good. But I have to put the own governor on me to say, nope, not doing it, because if it's going to be found by someone else, that's okay. I've got to make this just a balance in my life. Yeah. And so you've done the right thing and making it a balance. And
well, I know I have, but wouldn't it be great to get rid of this solve? Jeez, dude, I want to get rid of it.
You did. You published it.
I know, but it's still.
Yeah, but nobody's going out there.
No one's disproved it. There are people
going out there to prove it. I think you think you're the only one that has the solve that you love so much that you.
There you go. Sure.
And I have it. I have the love solve that it's my solve, and I will love it forever. And it's the one that I will go back to. I will vacation there one day, but I'm looking for the treasure. I've got it.
We all need a I love my solve doll.
Doll.
There you go. Besides the cup with the light up X where the thing is.
We can put needles in it and stuff to kill our solve. Oh, I hate it.
Yeah, they'll sell
the ground again.
Holy Someone could donate one.
Illinois Ghost is have like a pin cushion. He's
it's a voodoo salamander. Voodoo
salamander, right?
You have to put one pin in every time you go boots on the ground.
Oh my God.
Sasha's would look like a pin cushion too. She's got like 200. Cynthia. Yeah, we'd have like a porcupine, right?
Illinois Ghost. He's got 110 in the same area or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to know why that brother. He said when he was on the show last week, that that something totally changed his mind and totally, redirected him in the whole thing, and that for that reason, he'll never leave his solve. And boy, would I love to know what that is.
Yep.
And
Well,
for
actually,
a $25 donation to
Minotaur Merino, the T-shirt that we actually need is with the quote that Jason Dent put out. And he said, "Nothing ruins a perfectly good
there
solve.
you go.
Boots on the ground." Oh man,
Yep.
that is one of the best
that's
quotes.
it.
Man, I love
That
it.
is the best quote.
Right.
Yeah, well, don't assume I haven't.
You need to have like a little X's next to it, like 111, 112, 113.
And this is where my mind is. But now I'm not in the Rockies, but I've been in it 3 years. I think I have 5 or 6 boots on the ground. When I hear hundreds, I just think, wow, especially like Illinois Ghost, he's not in the area. And I know there's a lot of people retired and in different situations. So it's different, but that's where I just go, wow. But there's people that have those kind of hobbies. Look, when people go fishing and people go, you know, so it's.
They don't talk about how many times they caught a trout or how many times they went fishing.
Or they do on the fishing forums.
There, yeah.
They always talk about the ones that they lost.
If I had that many searches, I'd have nothing. My wife would be with another Jethro. My son would have a new daddy. I wouldn't have a house. My dogs would hate me. You know, shit.
Well, but I have thought about, so I get summers off because of my profession. I'm thinking about taking maybe a couple months and going out next summer in a nice big RV that I could put the kids in. And
you better buy it and not
so
rent
wait,
it.
you get
Wait,
summers
Bill
off.
Gorman,
Are you one of those sled bob like in the Winter Olympics or something that you train like just in the winter time? You like the Winter Olympics?
You are spot on.
Professional skier or
I was going to say the last woman I said in my profession, I was like,
wow, you guys are on tonight. Sean's face has just popped a few times. Exactly, Sean. Exactly. I'm glad this is
I love my search partner.
Mine's awesome. Not a wintertime profession. Thank you.
So now, K-Pro, you said you had some more words.
Okay.
Okay, here we go.
I think we covered most of them.
Okay, and again, I don't know this one, but I did do a little research on it. I send him sets of words because if I send him one, he'll go silent. So I'll send him sets of words, and that helps me because he usually picks the one that I don't want him to answer, and the other ones are like, "Where's WWH?" or "Will you rule out of state?" And he never does that. Right. So this is the one out of the set. What is the most exciting adventure you have had in 2018?
Making it to, never mind.
Yeah, making it to the curb to take the trash out.
Say it again.
Hold on.
Pulling Willie out of the pond with
that wasn't exactly it, but it was close.
Oh my!
That's
Forrest,
not what I meant.
I do not agree with this panel at this time. I want to make that abundantly clear.
Forrest, I meant that you were pulling your dog out of the pond. God dang. I did not mean that. Peggy, if you're watching this, please forgive me.
Oh,
no. Okay.
You never know what's going to happen, folks.
Okay, so where was I?
Pulling Willie out of the pond.
Repeat the question. Repeat the.
I need to go. Okay. What is the most exciting adventure you have had in 2018? Okay. What is the most exciting adventure you have had?
All this over pulling Willie out of the pond.
Don't say it.
We are like.
Who names the dog Willie?
Okay.
Forrest Fenn, duh.
We need to vote to rename the dog.
Okay, yes, we're all acting 13 right now. We're all acting 13 years old. Cut it out. Okay, I'm back to serious.
Scrapbook 190, Willie in the pond.
There is going to be words out about this. It's going to be bad. I am glad.
Not going to be happy with us.
Sean is crying. I think my mascara is probably down my face. Okay.
Okay, folks.
Okay, I'm not reading the question again. So, okay. So his answer, sitting out in my forest.
It's not a wiener dog anymore, Journeyman. He got a Bouchon freeze or whatever that thing is.
Laurie, you're exactly right. This is great, but this is
You broke the show. You broke the show, Gabriel.
You broke the internet.
It's over.
Okay.
I don't think DeCall. He's got that deer in the headlight. Looks like he doesn't know what we're talking about.
No, I know what to
Drinking Diet
say.
Coke.
I'll wait till after I.
He's got the
see
Buddy
Fenn at
Allen in the
bookstore.
headlight look.
If I see Fenn at the book tour, I gotta save all my stuff, after I see him. I
don't know where Buddy is, Minotaur. He's around
keep
hanging out. Okay, go ahead, K-Pro.
I don't know if I want to.
Now that you've proposed yourself.
So what is the most exciting adventure you have had in 2018? Sitting out in my forest with and I don't know if I'm going to pronounce it right, but it has been used in some previous words.
You better.
Sarsaparillio. I'll spell it in a minute. In my hand and watching the ants climb a tree. Now the word is, and it happens to be a particular type of soda that was important in 1850.
Sarsaparilla.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
It actually had a small alcohol content.
Okay, I'm not that smart of a person. Thanks, all of you. And he did put out some words in 2013.
Watching ants go up a hill.
So sitting out, you guys say the word because I've lost it.
Sarsaparilla.
Sarsaparilla. Okay, sitting out in my forest with a sarsaparilla in my hand and watching the ants climb a tree.
That sounds pretty. I
Was
like
it
the
Got
Willie.
it out of it, Sean, in a different way than he probably intended. So there you go. And I apologize.
And the ants go marching one by one. Hurrah, hurrah. The ants go marching
one by one. Hurrah, hurrah.
What are you talking about?
Am I the only one that didn't know that word? I told him I had to go.
You are the only one.
I'm the
Sarsaparilla.
Sarsaparilla?
You had to watch old westerns. Guys that didn't drink would order a sarsaparilla.
Or cranberry juice.
I'm just a messenger, okay? I wasn't really good at it, but there you go.
Was there a tree in the pond, Journeyman? I do not know.
Oh, look, there's still people in the chat room. I can't believe it.
I thought we'd run them off here after the whole.
Hang on. Sitting in my forest, drinking a sarsaparilla and watching the ants climb the tree or
climb a tree.
Climb a tree.
Yeah.
That's pretty much nothing. Basically, no excitement here, right?
Yeah.
You're Mr. Imagination.
Jason Din definitely got better words than you.
And I am happy for him. That's what this is about.
Well, wasn't the ants climbing the tree about the Coriolis effect?
Yeah, Coriolis effect. Yep.
And how they climb.
Not in 166. It's not in 166. It's not. But it gets us laughing rather than upset.
No, come on. That was one of his scrapbooks.
It was. Yep.
And there was the ant in the mud puddle, and I'm not. Oh yeah, there we go. Minotaur Moreno said it the same time that I said it. Very good.
Oh, he was ahead of you. He said it before.
Yeah. Sorry about that, brother.
Come on, we all need to keep score. Who gets the right words? Who gets this? Who gets that? I mean,
we're wondering. I mean, it's a little bit of analysis here. We're just trying to figure out what is he saying. He's just saying that's our little bit of. He's relaxing on the porch, drinking sarsaparilla, Dr. Pepper, root beer, whatever the heck it's kind of a theme of sodas that he likes.
Can I interject and talk about punctuation, folks? I really want to talk about punctuation.
Go get another drink, Sean.
I'm going to say one thing about punctuation.
We have a lost little boy in aisle 3.
We're going to clean up on aisle 3. He's going to lose his shit, folks.
I need something to be able to do that.
Get you one of them. Oh my goodness.
So he said in this most recent Q&A, and he said
the one that he ruled out punctuation or a different one?
Oh, you could say he ruled out punctuation. It just improves our chances a little bit.
That's true.
He said sometimes punctuation can be confusing, and that's why I'm very careful when I use it. And then he said to illustrate, and I love the fact that he used the colon in there again. But the one thing that he says sometimes punctuation confusing, so that's why he's very careful when he uses it. But he said to us, that the poem is straightforward with no subterfuge. If that punctuation was to be thrown in there as some way to confuse us or to throw us off, wouldn't that be considered subterfuge? Wouldn't that be considered playing games? If the poem is straightforward, everything is in there on purpose. It's there. It's purposeful. And he's, like he said, he's very careful because it can be confusing. He also said in the Collected Works bookstore interview from 10/23 of 13, this is one that had Michael McGarity and Douglas Preston in it. And he says about the 32-minute and 10-second mark, he says, when I wrote that poem, I wasn't playing any games. It's straightforward. So if he's out there, if he's really telling us that punctuation means nothing, it doesn't matter at all or whatever, and that may be the case. I'm not saying it isn't. Wouldn't that be some kind of, subterfuge if he was just placing it in there willy-nilly or putting a semicolon in there just to confuse us and throw us off?
I've spent so much time on the semicolon. That was the reason, and I might not have worded it exactly right. I feel he's put this one to bed. I know you and I disagree on this one. Sure. I am not going to spend more time on semicolon, commas, etc. when he's told me I thought I did a decent job in the sentence structure of the question. I know some people, but I kind of feel this is one, if he flat out said to D-Call, your solve is not it, I think D-Call might say, well, I'm not exactly sure, is that Fenn speak, just like you have done with the punctuation one. That's my opinion on this one. He's ruled it out for me. Just like the 1 mile thing, he's ruled it out for me. I think he's been he rarely answers yes, no. He answers usually in butterflies and unicorns. He didn't on this one. So for me, it's ruled it out, but that doesn't mean I'm right at all because I got no checks.
Yeah, but you guys, I've only heard bits and pieces of Sean solve, nothing real, but yes, it's true. But I don't see how that hurts his solve at all. The poem came out with punctuation in it, and that's just how Fenn wrote it. It's simple. There's no taking it back now.
It's moving hand has writ.
Yeah, it's out, and that's the way he intended it. He spent 15 years on it.
Why would he answer that question? Is he just trying to mess with us? Was he?
Well, I think he's saying in the response you gave him, and this is something I've debated a lot about, and gotten flack for it, is that to me when he answered your question, the two questions you gave him, is he's saying, does punctuation have significance in solving the poem? There's two different things going on there. Does punctuation have significance? And then does punctuation have significance in solving the poem? There's two different things there. But the question was, does punctuation have significance in solving the poem? And again, I don't think a comma, where it's placed, or even a comma by itself, is going to be significant in your ability to solve this poem and figure out the meaning of what he's trying to say. Is punctuation important? I believe it is. Otherwise, he wouldn't have put it in there at all. He's not trying to play any games. The poem is straightforward. He's not any subterfuge in there. He didn't put a comma where it shouldn't be or where he doesn't want somebody to pause. It's there specifically. The moving hand is
some people think the semicolon means that's where, here's one that I had in my solve. The semicolon was when I went from a general area. Once the semicolon hit, I went to a specific area and I didn't move between 200 feet in that area. That was my definition of the semicolon for my second solve. And I now would not, and I spent so much time on why and all of that, and that's where it moved me. I wouldn't do that again because I feel like, especially the semicolon, because that's the one I think is the most important. I won't spend that kind of time or think there's a huge shift or some sort of transition. I won't do that again.
Yeah. I think the key thing is, and I'm not going to go over it, is I think people could do this on their own and educate themselves and don't take what I say as actual fact, but go and just study the purpose of the semicolon, what its purpose is, what it's supposed to do, and then look at the poem. Then look at the poem and how the word structure is that surrounds that semicolon, and understand that he did grammatically use that semicolon absolutely 100% correct.
100%
grammatically.
Yeah,
absolutely. 100%.
I mean, it fits my theory that you just.
So it fits your theory, but not his words.
No, it's not a theory.
No.
It's just
you just
grammar.
follow what he gave
based
us
on grammar.
and
The rules of grammar
found
that
out-
we've been given.
yeah.
I agree with that. I just don't agree that there's like a hint in them. And that was maybe what I didn't word
No,
well.
the punctuation by itself is not a hint. The punctuation is not what the purpose of the semicolon does grammatically will not help you in solving it, but it does clarify. And the purpose of punctuation, its purpose is to clarify the meaning of words. Will it help you in solving it? No, but it will help you with the clarification of the meaning of words. But it's not all by itself is going to be a clue.
Can we all agree that we think home of Brown having a capital B there's meaning in that to solve the poem? Okay, and I just don't think we all agree, and I might be in the minority, but I think there's a few on Thor that feel both ways. I don't think we all feel that for punctuation in that same way. I think we can all agree, though.
Well, a lot of people refer back to the rules of punctuation or the rules of capitalization to a question where, a person by the name of Chicago Dave asked a question like, did you follow the rules of punctuation when writing your poem? And he responded, whose rules, Chicago Dave? But the funny thing about that, and what's so ironic and shows you Fenn's humor, is the way that Chicago's Dave's name is written. It's like Chicago Dave with no spaces, and then Dave is capitalized in the middle of it. It's all canny wampus and his whole pseudonym. So Fenn's like laughing at him, going like, "What, am I supposed to fucking follow your rules? And you're not even following the rules of grammar because your whole pseudonym is all jacked up."
Well, what about all of the misspellings?
Mine or the actual rules?
What about all the misspellings and inaccuracies in TTOTC?
Who cares about TTOC? We're talking about the poem. The poem is the pure
bing, 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 bing.
I don't disagree with either one of you. I just think that the poem is a higher level of truth and purity. But Fenn has made it very clear that he breaks the rules. So we got a conundrum here. We're not sure. I mean, I use the same thing as Christy's saying to justify my home of Brown. Found out that brown trout does not follow the rules of grammar. Okay, but I'm not going to give up my area because Fenn has made it clear that he does break the rules. So I've got an out. It doesn't disprove my solve. It might disprove it according to Sean, but I'm willing to accept that as a risk.
Sean didn't write the poem. That's the good thing.
That's
Sean
true.
Didn't write the poem.
But D-Call, short of hearing from Fenn, I'm ruling this out for you, and it's not there. What is your key question that you could clarify that might say, like, is a salamander involved, or is what's that thing?
Ooh, there you go.
A brown trout would be great if he, but I got the feeling that would only rule out, say, Sean's solve, not mine. I don't know. A lot of people, if he said brown trout, I'm no better off than I was last week because it's fine,
Well, not the ones that don't matter. What would be that? Well, maybe we'll go offline because what's that defining question that would be like, boom, I'm done with my solve.
Yeah, but you don't want to
if
do
you
that.
guys knew in the chat room what we talk about offline.
Oh, it's really good. Yeah, it's really good.
You'd want to be in here with us guys.
Oh yeah, I don't even wear any underwear for that one.
Wait till Totally Not Mitzi gets here. It's really going to get wild. Talking about, Willie's in the pond. Holy cow, it's going to get wild.
No.
I'm
Go back there again.
I wish I knew, Christy. I wish I had. Fenn would know how to rule out my solve. He could rule it out immediately.
He can't do all the work for you. You just want to hand it to you? Come on.
Oh, pick anything, Fenn. Let's just stop. I was just saying when I see Fenn, if I happen to see Fenn,
salamanders,
I just want Fenn to tell me what line of the poem do I work on. If he tells Sean, look for a new warm waters halt.
No,
Christy, look for a new warm waters halt.
Information. That's the thing that I do on Thor. Anything he tells me, I put out to the whole community. So I would like to say, okay, what should we? That question. Let's have him clarify.
All right.
Everybody.
Forrest.
Race.
Forrest, tell me what line of the poem I need to work on.
WWWH. Guarantee that's his answer. Guarantee.
I would be so
But
happy.
yeah.
Because I'm published. That's not a fair question to Fenn because I am published. Everyone knows
so
my
am
warm
I.
waters halt.
When I got back from my second search in Yellowstone, I fully published my solve. Nobody liked it very much since you made it.
Well, that's the thing, though. And I remember, Decal, when you did, and I know 10, 15 other searchers that did, they thought the minute they published and I did it with mine when I sent it to the few people with my saw from a couple months ago. I sent it and I said, Cynthia's going to run there and get it.
I thought it was going to be a gold rush, but nobody cares.
Yep. And Cynthia went, it's okay, but here's my problem. She was up there. And I'm like, you're within 50 miles of it. Can you at least go there? And she's like, no. She's like, here's the fatal flaws. And I was like, I know. If I send it to more than one searcher and they all kind of go, it's okay, but it's not wonderful.
The call locked up on us.
Oh no!
No, he's just staring intensely,
staring longingly.
Let's put one of those little bubbles over his head.
David's eyes.
Rid of my soul.
Come back. Come back. This might be a good time to start wrapping it. That's a great picture of DeCall, though. Look at him.
It is. It's beautiful.
There he is. Better.
You know what? He thought we all locked. He was like, well, it ain't me, obviously.
It's obviously Sean.
Like I say, I spent $10,000 on a computer and a very expensive internet payment every month for the highest possible.
That's boots on the ground right there. You got to get your priorities.
That's good. You got to find that.
Could have been money for Jay Diggin. Why are you spending so much money on a computer?
I spent that before in 2013. So.
Well, we got anything else? We should wrap this thing up.
I don't know. Go back and look at
like
the
an hour and 25 minutes.
Look, Minotaur Marino, he's got like 30 questions.
I know he has.
All right. He wants you to take him to the chest, give him.
He wants Mr. Fenn to know if there's an 800-foot salamander in the Solve.
Yeah, that was a good question.
That was great. I would love to know from the chat room who is going to be there next week. I mean, I know there's a lot of
show of hands,
but who's going to be at the event or around?
I have hopes sometime this year to get out there with Sean and search, but man, it's going to be cold by the time I get there, brother.
Yep, it will be.
Oh my God, we'll be shoveling snow.
How often do you get out, Sean?
How often do I get out? Whenever my wife will let me.
Such a Sean answer.
Twice a month.
Because his name is Willie.
That's nice. I mean, Fenn is going to be so mad.
All right, guys, let's start wrapping this thing up. Okay, Pro, you got any last words?
Yeah, Hen of Riches, go there. And especially these last 2 days, we're like within today's Wednesday, 48 hours. If you have ideas for the 50K challenge, we are now at, I think it was 44,000. We have some people that might be interested in getting us to 50. We need something that's going to make it inspiring. And if we make it to 60, Toby's going to be in a Supergirl outfit that I will bring. So we know our 60 goal, but what is our 50 goal? If you have ideas, please, let us know. And no, I do not think it's going to be found this summer. That has been asked about 15 times in the chat room. I do not. So, because I'm going out next year.
Next year? That's it?
I will not be out I'm not close enough. I don't have confidence yet. It's the beginning of a solve. I don't think you can get a solve. I mean, we've had a huge development, but I've put in probably 60, 70 hours just to get to where I'm at. And there's no way I can get there. I mean, unless there's some huge breakthrough, but I don't see that as happening. So we're doing it systematically, little by little. Starting over is super hard. And It was that thrill again, going general area, WWWH, oh my gosh. And so that's as far as I've gone. So.
Yeah. Alan K., I see your question. Alan, if you're not a member of Thor, go over to Thor. Christy's got a thread in there like Fenn clarifies, and you can go in there and ask those questions. It's a good question, but I would suggest you go over there, then K-Pro can see them much easier, and then she can, like I said, she puts a list of 4 or 5 of them together and sends them to him, and then Forrest Fenn. So we ought to stack the deck. We ought to stack the deck and just say, well, where's Warm Waters Halt? Where's Warm Waters Halt? Where's Warm Waters Halt? And then who's been closer? Or something.
And then does punctuation matter?
Right.
We have punctuation in an 800-foot salamander. We're on this thing.
Yeah, he'll answer the 800-foot salamander questions. What he'll do.
I wish he would.
What do you got, DeCall?
Oh, just Google me, DeCall space Thomas, Space Fleet Thomas. Just kidding. DeCall Thomas.
Space Force Thomas.
DeCall Thomas on YouTube, Facebook/DeCall, and what else? I'm easy to find. You'll find me. Facebook me, call me, write me, whatever.
That's so sad. There's like 5 of him walking around Vegas. They're using his credit cards and shit.
They're
probably.
Yeah. What do you got, David?
Oh, I got nothing. I got Space Force Thomas. I'm
No,
just like
Kramer
hanging
is
out.
Kramer at Thor.
I am Kramer. You know,
He
I'm
did have
Kramer
his
at
own
Thor. I'm
thread.
Kramer.
People
I've been Kramer
welcomed
my
him.
whole life.
And
But
Kramer's
people
coming to
welcomed
Vegas.
him. People
Coming to
welcomed him.
Vegas.
Not many people get a thread that says "Welcome Kramer," and then
Yeah, it
people-
was freaking awesome. That was good. And then I said some shit, and then they left me alone. It was all right.
Right.
Coming to Vegas, October
Well, guys,
14th.
a couple announcements. We
Wait
have.
a minute. What's K-Pro got?
She already talked.
have another beer, David.
All right, you ain't shit. All right,
Another
that's it.
shot
I
of
got
whiskey,
one
brother.
more.
Well, guys, I want to let everybody know that this upcoming weekend is our annual family Labor Day camping weekend. So I will not be doing a weekend update this weekend. So we will have to catch you on Wednesday when we do our next, after party show. And I am planning a special guest for that. We got to get all the particulars and everything worked out for that. But I will put out Tuesday. I will put out a teaser for that. As long as everything goes good with the test and we get that person all set up for it. But I will put out a teaser to let you know who that is and what to expect. I think it's going to be a great show if we can make it work out.
I'll be flying. I'll be flying during next week's show, so I doubt it's going to match up any part of it. Also, count me out for Wednesday just because I'm flying to Fenn's.
Right. K-Pro, are you going to be available for next week?
I am, but
I know you're going to be there. But
I stay at has horrible reception, but I'll try. If I can, I might be able to
We can test it out to do. We can test it out maybe with you.
Yeah, we prefer it when you're like.
You prefer when I'm not saying, "Thank you, David. You're becoming my best friend."
So everybody, we appreciate all of you coming out tonight and spending, an hour and 30 minutes with us. It's been a real fun night. If you like the show, don't forget to give it a like, and give it a thumbs up. If you don't, that's fine too, guys.
You already got three. You already got 3 thumbs down. You got three people that think you suck.
Okay. Hey, we like that too, and we like those guys to give us thumbs down if at least they're here for the show. That's okay. We appreciate you guys showing up for 2 minutes, and we'll see you downvotes next week. It's okay. You're still here. We still like you guys. That's all right. But yeah, if you like the show, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already, subscribe, and we will catch you all next week on the flip side. Have a good night, folks.